Welcome to the Retail Tech Podcast, where we talk about the full spectrum of technologies and implementation used in omnichannel and online retail. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at retailtechpodcast.com, and we always look forward to your feedback. Today I'm speaking with Smadar, Landau, and Saar Szekely from a company called Feelter, and Smadar is the founder and CEO, and Saar is the VP of R&D. How are you today?
Great.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. Can you tell me what is Feelter and what does it do?
Feelter was established 2.5 years ago with one thing in mind. How can we harvest the enormous amount of knowledge and of information that is in the social networks to empower consumers to make better decisions? And this is the core of the technology that we've developed. How can we analyze everything that's being said in the social networks, in review sites, in blogs, in forum discussions, take all of these massive amounts of data and make sense out of them, organize them in a way that can actually help consumers to make better decisions, to make their buy or not buy decisions.
But there is something else that I want to say that it's extremely important. One is that review is not working anymore because there is a lot of manipulation, a lot of made-up review. And when people want to buy a product and after they choose the iRobot or the Nike shoes or the coffee machine that they really want to buy, they will drop the e-commerce website and open about 7 different tabs searching for reliable information from reliable sources. And when we say reliable sources, usually it's social networks. So what is so unique about Feelter is the ability to listen to the conversation, the authentic and the unmanipulated mention, reviews, blogs, forums, video, photo. We collect them from all over the networks and then we curate them in the most effective way, the way that Saar described before.
Okay. So yeah, this is actually, you brought up a very interesting question in my mind as far as reliable sources. And I'm sure everybody follows what's going on in the US on the elections and the concept of, what everybody calls fake news. So the interesting thing that I'm thinking is that it's a lot easier to be able to get fake news out on one channel, but it's a lot more difficult to do that across all the different channels. And it seems like by bringing in data from different channels, you can eliminate or reduce any kind of like inaccurate data.
It's not, first of all, it's correct. And it's not only about different sources, it's about multiple opinions. It's, I think that the great advantage that we have in Feelter is that, first of all, we're not scanning only one source of information. We're using multiple sources, but we have huge amounts of data. So within it, we can, we can use it to filter out repetitions, patterns, to identify malicious behavior of spam and marketing, etc., and really use only the data that we're feeling confident about. We don't have to use everything that we see, so it's much more difficult to mess around with our results than regular review sites. Another important issue is that in a review site or, for example, TripAdvisor, people go there to write reviews. We actually collect data which wasn't intended as a review in the first place. We're monitoring the social discussion, and so it's much more authentic. It's a part of the conversation. It's not meant to either harm or to praise the product itself. And this is a huge advantage that we have.
Right.
But this is the way that we deliver the truth to the people. But the idea behind Feelter is that, and our tagline is that Feelter powered by the people is that the truth sells. We believe that you need and you must put the customer in the center and not the product. And you cannot lie to the people anymore. And that's not the way that people want to make a relationship with the retailer, the e-commerce retailer. They want to see authentic and unmanipulated. And that's what will create a long-term relationship between them and the e-commerce retailer. So actually, we put that in the center, and everything that we are doing support this, I would say, ideology.
Okay. So the concept that the truth sells is the
Absolutely.
core. Okay, that makes sense. And your point also about the reviews are not working anymore is very interesting, because for me, I've always looked at reviews with a little bit of a grain of salt, because a lot of them are fake, some of them are authentic, but a lot of them are not. What do you think about how? I mean, because ultimately Amazon is probably one company that really has the best quality of reviews, or they put a lot of focus into that. What do you think about how they are handling it?
I do believe that they are focused now how to change the review, and really I believe that everyone who want to engage the customer will be very sensitive to the word truth. And just lately we saw that article that they say that they are now going to change the system, since 20% of the review are fake even there. So I believe that the market must and need to adopt this way of not just thinking, behavior, and they are going to follow this. And the reason that I say that the review is not working yet is we can see that companies spent billions of dollars to increase traffic to the website, and yet the conversion rates are extremely low. Some of them, I saw the result in Expedia, since it's a public company, 2.3% is the conversion rates. They spend billions of dollars, and they're doing great in travel industry. Other can do 0.5 or 1% conversion rates, meaning that 99% of the people that you paid to bring them to your website, to your shop, won't buy anything. And this is a tough situation, and the competition is very, very hard, especially not that they are facing Amazon as well. So they need to do something. And in that sense, when you follow the journey, the customer journey, you can see that they, in average, open 7 different tabs searching for information, mainly in social networks. And that's what's so unique about us. We are like the fly on the wall, that bringing the conversation that you want really to understand and to listen to before you make a decision.
Right. Yeah. I looked at a couple of the examples, and it seems that you actually add a little snippet or some sort of information on every product on the e-commerce website, right? And that is where people can actually see the pop-up that shows the information that you're capturing about that product, correct?
That's correct. We're a B2B solution, so we work with e-commerce and content platforms, and we have a very easy implementation, a one line of code implementation that all they have to do is to include our script reference, and we automatically enhance the site. We analyze each product. We find the unique textual identifier of each product and go gather and organize all of the information straight next to the product to support the consumers.
So the line of code that they put this on each individual product page, or
Uh,
just once
uh,
on the entire site?
just on the entire site, and that's how it usually works. And we automatically identify the products and enhance them with the content, with our score that gives you the most summarized version of the information that we've collected. Um, I think that part of what is important here is not only to bring all of this information and to find the reliable information. Uh, the real challenge is how to organize it and how to curate it and how to make it accessible. Uh, because it's true that the consumers need information to make their decisions, but overwhelming them with too much information is not very helpful on the other hand as well. So what is really the unique part and the essential part of the technology is how to organize all of this information, and it starts with, as I mentioned, the score of analyzing using natural language processing techniques, all of the mentions that we've collected, and afterwards to curate it and to choose only the most engaging and informative mentions out of this variety of opinions to really reflect the social conversation in the most efficient way that won't take too much of the consumer's time. So these are the two things that we're trying to balance. On one, to be as much as helpful as we can, but on the other hand, not to overwhelm with information and to drown the user with
Too much
irrelevant data.
information. Right, right. Too much information is probably even worse than not enough information when you're trying to make a decision.
Exactly. You want to see the highlights. You want to get as soon as possible to what really interests you. Another mechanism that we've developed, especially for this, is the tag mechanism. Our algorithms automatically group mentions by different topics of the discussion or different features of the product. So it will help you to get as fast as possible to what really interests you. And we're constantly monitoring the user engagement with our widget to understand what really interests people. What is the correct amount of videos, of photos, of textual mentions that can get them to be most engaged and to make their decisions as best as
Okay.
possible.
So, as far as the display of the information and capturing the information, do you, in the process, capture any kind of like personally identifiable information on people, or how do you? So, because you have to, do you also track people as they go across different sites, for example?
Uh, we, we, we don't have personal information regarding people, so we don't follow them across sites. We do have some sort of scoring to the users writing the information because we're trying, but on the other way, we're trying to filter out spammers and names that we're seeing that post information with the same patterns on different networks. So we are giving some kind of score to the user, not only to the content, and it's part of trying to curate the information in the best possible way. Um, you can
Okay.
think about the search engine the same way that Google is ranking pages, but our challenge is slightly bigger because um, we're a search engine for social media and not for a product-related search engine for the social media and not for web pages. So each mention is relatively much shorter. We have to use not only the text itself, but also the metadata, the context, the engagement with it, how many likes, dislikes, comments. We analyze all of the surroundings to understand really what are the meaningful parts of the social conversation.
Okay. And is this is all done by code, right? There is no human interaction in there. Is there any kind of like monitoring or oversight by actual humans in the process, or is it all just like machine natural language, NLP and AI, basically?
Um, there is a human factor. by training the algorithms. Not the end results is without any human touch, but the process of training the algorithms and constantly monitoring, filtering spam is an ongoing war.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you constantly have to you got to have eventually some sort of monitoring to see what new ways spammers have found to insert marketing material into our database. So as I said, the process starts with human training and then lets the algorithms, like most machine learning algorithms, to improve by their own and by the engagement with our users.
Okay. So so you said that you're B2B and you work with platforms and like large retail enterprises online. Now, is there a difference between just pure online players and omni-channel retailers as far as how the process works?
Um, Currently, we're embedded live and conducting tests only on web platforms, but we've already started working with also with big players that do have omni-channel solutions, and we don't have lots of data there yet. But we think that one of the most important factors is that people do not really separate between the channels today. They might go online and then go to the store. Most of the time, when they're in their store, they're using their mobiles to get more information and to make their choices. So to separate them is you shouldn't think of them as separate channels, but to think of one experience that connects between all of the different ways to interact with your consumers, with the customers.
Right.
Uh,
I agree. I mean, I think definitely from a consumer end,
mhm.
they really don't, especially the newer generation, they don't see why there should be a difference. But I'm kind of uh, speaking from a point of view of like traditional retailers where they have all these different channels and the goal is to become omni-channel. But a lot of people are on that road. They're not there yet. So
That's true. We're headed for a pilot. I can't talk about it too much right now, but we're headed for a first pilot that will combine our data both in e-commerce and in the brick and mortar shops themselves. And maybe we can do a follow-up and I'll tell you about the results of our
sure,
case.
definitely. Let me know when. Definitely, because I think again, I think everybody understands that's the future. The question is, how do we help retailers as retailers? How do we get to that point without going out of business first, and surviving to get to that point? And that's a real, real challenge.
Yeah.
So now, another question I have is as far as product verticals, you mentioned travel. Is this better suited for some products and not as well for others?
Yes. We focus. Travel was actually our first vertical, and that's why we've mentioned it first. But we also have great results, and we're conducting great case studies in health and beauty, in consumer electronics, in toys for kids, in cars. That we have great results in the automotive industry. Um, but our technology is not suitable for all verticals, and the main reason is that we want to be reliable. And first of all, we need to have a unique textual identifier for each product, so we can get accurate results. So, for example, a lot of categories within the fashion industry don't have any unique textual identifier, or if you're talking about accessories, they're not always branded. We base our results on the social conversation, so we can only bring results from products that are actually being discussed and that have a meaningful conversation about. This is a limitation. Otherwise, we see that not only that we were all constantly surprised by the amount of verticals that we have information on, we see that it's growing along the way, and our coverage today is much bigger than the one we had when Feelter was just founded. So this is something that we see expanding all the time.
Great. So by the unique identifier, do you mean like a UPC code or?
No, we need a textual identifier because we're talking about the social conversation. Nobody writes to his friends about a product and mentions the SKU.
Right.
So we need to have a textual identifier. For example, Apple iPhone 7 Plus is a unique textual identifier. That's how people refer to the product, and that's how they use it in their social conversation. So that's what I'm talking about as a unique textual identifier.
Okay, so and for example, on the other side, let's say if you're looking at a piece of jewelry, it could be like, this is a nice gold ring with diamonds on it, but there's really nothing that you can take from that to uniquely identify that item.
Exactly, and that is exactly our problem in the fashion vertical. Although in some categories we do have great results. For example, shoes and high-end sneakers. We're currently seeing great results with, and we have a partnership in this specific category because it has a unique structure within it.
So it's
And
almost like a unique brand. Each item can have like the Air Jordan is immediately tells you what product we're talking about.
Exactly. It really depends on the category, but if you have strong brands and model names, so we'll be able to bring information. If you have a blue and brown checked shirt, even if you have a brand, most of the time it's not enough information to determine exactly what product they were referring to.
So the unique identifier only can work with text, or can you also take data from images and videos?
Currently, where most of our analysis is textual based, we're working on in the future to incorporate more image analysis. But right now, as it's very important for us to be trustworthy, and so we're only using technology that we can be really positive about.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's there is probably the most of the actual uniquely explainable data is in text anyway, at least right now, because you can't really provide, even if you're sharing an image, the description of it is going to be in text or any kind of opinion.
It's true, and that's actually what matters also to our users. We want to bring them information and reliable information. So it's a combination both of images, of videos, and of text.
Okay, great. So I'm going to just switch to close on a little bit of information about the business. I know that you've just raised funding, so congratulations on that. I'm interested always to find out what is the experience of founders, especially in this case a woman founder, which is really good to see. We don't have enough. So, what was your experience in going through the founding of the company, and also the funding side of it?
Okay, I want to say that we were very lucky because we were participating in a Must Challenge, which is an accelerator based in Boston. We are a company that's based in Tel Aviv right now, and we are going to open our office in New York very soon, our headquarters. And for us to raise money at the very beginning, we work here in Israel with angels. And the leading angel here in Feelter is the leading IP firm in Israel. So this is a great start for us. And now in the United States, we wanted someone that understands the market, understands the potential. And our investor, Will Graylin, he's a senior in Samsung, but basically he has in his background 3 startups and great exits. And one of them was the wallet that he
Okay,
sold. And it was a great to have him aboard with us.
great. So you think so? You went through the Mass Challenge Accelerator in Boston.
Yeah, we were the finalists in Mass Challenge.
Okay, and I also saw that is that associated with the Google Startup Challenge or is that different?
No.
No,
Because you won the Google Startup Challenge as well, right? Or is that the same?
No, we want. It's not Google. It's GMIC. It's G Startup Worldwide.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's a competition which is part of the GMIC conference, which is held in 8 locations across the world, and in each one of them there is a regional startup competition. We won the one in Tel Aviv,
in Israel.
and in Tel Aviv in Israel, and that got us the opportunity to participate on also in the global finals that were held in San Francisco in the end of September, and we won there as well.
Yeah, and
It's
the prize. Let's speak about the prize. We got a check in Israel, $50,000, and in San Francisco, 250K. So
nice,
yes, but
especially
not.
when it doesn't take any equity.
It actually
It
does.
actually
Oh, it
does.
does. Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know
It,
that. Okay,
it's an
we
investment prize.
It's
Yeah.
an investment prize. They joined to the round, and but the best part of that, it's not just the competition itself; it's the people that they bring, the audience, and the leading VCs were taking part in this event. And just last month, I've been in another accelerator that focus on women entrepreneur and founders in the Silicon Valley. And the moment I arrived to the Silicon Valley, I raised another 300K, and that's based on our success 1 month
fantastic.
before. Yeah, so
Well,
it's great.
it's
Yeah,
great to see this happening. I think what you're tapping into is very valuable because in commerce and retail, it's all about the conversion. That's the holy grail. And people are getting smart, like you said. They're not buying just going by what the reviews are saying everywhere. So this is very interesting. One last question is maybe each one of you. What do you think will be the most interesting thing to see from like how retail will be in 5 years from now?
wow.
Well,
The
that's a heavy
internet,
one.
Easy question, I know. It's easy question.
I believe that they will be more transparent. People will have all the knowledge under the using their smartphone, and they will be open with their customers. And this is, I'm sure about it. It would be people will make a decision even faster, and people making today a decision very very quickly. So we need to be very focused and know exactly what kind of information people want to see, and to deliver it in multi-channel.
Okay.
In
And Saar?
Um, I'm a data scientist, so I can't really talk about the future.
What does the data show about the future?
I know that you shouldn't make too many assumptions about the future. You can you can only look at the data no, I'm just kidding. I agree with Smadar. I think that there is a constant change not only in the social conversation but also in the conversation that brands are holding with their consumers, and the reactions are growing faster and faster, and you have to be more transparent and more open, both in the conversation with the consumers, with the tools that you give them, and I think this is where it's already headed, and I think it will only continue to grow.
Okay, and of course, data is going to be at the heart of how that actually will work.
Yeah, I think it already is, and everyone is growing to accept it, and those who don't just fail. I think one of the worries that we had when we started was that we don't filter out negative opinions. And we thought maybe some of our potential clients will find it problematic that they just, bring content into their site that they don't have any way to control and that might be negative. But we've learned that most of our clients, most of the e-commerce players today understand this very well. That showing the negative together with the positive is something that you have to do, and you have to be transparent, because people are just growing smarter and they have tons of ways of learning of this about information, and if you don't show it to them yourself, they'll just go somewhere else.
I would like to add and say that the power of the brand will decline and the power of the community will increase, because people look at the sharing economy. People are relying more and more on other people and a group, and that will affect the journey, the consumer journey. And
okay, that's very interesting. I'm going to have to think about that. The power of the brand is going to decline and the power of the community will increase.
Yes.
Very interesting. So I think we need to have another podcast just to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how would it actually work? Like, by community, do you mean like Facebook?
By community, we're speaking about the majority, the sharing economy. You can see that people today are able to take Uber and go with someone that they really don't know who he is, because someone else rating him, and you can rent your whole apartment with all your furniture and everything to a completely stranger and give the key for your house. Based on the idea that there is something completely different, there is a movement. I'm not the one who said that.
No, it's definitely makes sense. Yes, I agree.
People are listening and they're very sensitive to the crowd, and they rely on the crowd more than they're listening to the campaign based on advertising from the brand try to sell it.
And it all goes back into your point about the truth selling. So this is almost like a truth bot.
That's true. We put the customer in the center, not the product, and that's true as well. That you need to understand that you're dealing with a human being and with people, and not with just with credit cards.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Nice meeting you, and best of luck.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.